Yep.
Right.
New York State Racing Parimutuel Wagering and Breeding Law, Section 102, provides that the New York State Gaming Commission shall consist of 7 members appointed by the governor by and with the advice and consent of the Senate. 4 members confirmed by the New York State Senate are necessary to afford the commission an ability to establish a quorum and to undertake action. This present meeting of the commission is now called to order.
I'll call the roll, please. John Crotty,
Here.
Peter Machete,
Here.
John Paclumba,
Here.
Barry Sample, here, Jerry Skurnick,
Here.
Todd Snyder.
Here.
I will ensure that the record reflects a quorum of qualified members is present, thus enabling transaction of business.
Minutes of the commission meeting conducted on September 17th, 2019 have been provided to members in advance. At this time, I'd like to ask if any members have any edits, corrections, or amendments. Hearing none, may I have a vote on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Rulemaking, New York State Racing Parimutuel Wagering and Breeding Law 104.19 authorizes the commission to promulgate rules and regulations that it deems necessary to carry out its responsibilities. To that regard, the commission will from time to time promulgate rules and rule amendments pursuant to the State Administrative Procedure Act. Today, we have 2 items for consideration. Rob, will you please outline the first item?
Certainly, for commission consideration is a proposal which contains 3 parts. With respect to the first part, the proposal would amend the restricted time period for the use of cortico joint injections to 14 days from the current restriction of 7 days before a thoroughbred horse's next race. The purpose of the proposal is to enhance the protection afforded a horse by allowing veterinarians and horsemen greater time period following the administration of a corticosteroid joint injection to evaluate its effectiveness. With respect to the second part, the proposal would amend the restricted time period for the interarticular injection of any substance to a thoroughbred horse to match the proposed 14-day time period for a corticosteroid joint injection. Again, the purpose of this proposal is to allow veterinarians and horsemen time to evaluate a horse following treatment and before returning them to high-speed exercise or competition. With respect to the third part, this proposal would require the reporting of every interarticular joint injection. Currently, rules only require the submission of cortico joint injections within 48 hours of treatment. Parts 1 and 2 have been advanced as part of the Mid-Atlantic Strategic Plan to reduce equine fatalities by the regulators, horsemen, and racetrack operators from 7 states that comprise the Mid-Atlantic region. Part 3 simply applies parts 1 and 2 to our existing reporting requirements.
Commissioners, any questions on the proposal of a rule to prohibit all interarticular joint injections within 14 days of a race? No discussion? May I have a motion for this proposed rule?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, please.
For commission consideration is an amendment to the commission rule that set forth standards for housing maintained on the grounds of certain racetracks. Specifically, the proposal would extend existing regulations governing housing on the grounds of the New York Racing Association, Inc. to all racetrack housing at thoroughbred and standardbred racetracks. This would bring standardization to housing at Buffalo Raceway, Finger Lakes Racetrack, Monticello Raceway, Saratoga Harness, Vernon Downs, and Yonkers Raceway. Neither Batavia nor Tioga offer housing. The proposed rule would provide, among other things, standards for buildings and residential rooms, sanitary, water, garbage removal, and pest control, and is generally modeled after the New York State Department of Health's migrant farm worker housing regulations.
Commissioners, any questions on the proposal of a rule regarding amendments to rules regarding standards for backstretch housing and related facilities? No questions? Any issue? No discussion? May I have a motion for this rule?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Adjudication. The next item of scheduled business regarding adjudications. Today we have 2 items for adjudication. Can you
Certainly.
please outside the first one?
Certainly, on July 10th, 2019, the Bureau of Licensing denied the application of James J.
Yeah, that was Todd
Georgia
joining.
Jr. for a gaming employee registration to work as a sports book writer at Rivers Casino and Resort in Schenectady. The denial cited New York Racing Parimutuel Wagering and Breeding Law, section 1318 1A, C, D, and F, which provide that the applicant must prove by qualification clear and convincing evidence for the for disqualification on the grounds of C, the conviction of the applicant of any offense which in any jurisdiction is or would be a felony,
Yes.
or other crime involving public integrity, embezzlement, theft, fraud, or perjury. D, committed prior acts which have not been prosecuted or in which the applicant or of any person required to be qualified under this article as a condition of license was not convicted but form a pattern of misconduct that makes the applicant unsuitable for a license under this article. Or F, any other offense under present state or federal law which indicates that licensure of the applicant would be inimical to the policy of this article, provided however that the disqualification provisions of this article shall not apply with regard to any misdemeanor conviction. Specifically, Mr. DeGiorgia's application and associated materials indicated that he had been convicted of a felony offense that involved unlawful gambling and that he exhibited a pattern of misconduct that made him unsuitable for licensing. Mr. DeGiorgia requested a hearing which was conducted on August 28, 2019. The hearing officer submitted a report to the Commission Secretary dated October 17, 2019, recommending that the registration denial be sustained. The Commission considered this matter at a meeting conducted pursuant to the judicial or quasi-judicial proceedings exemption of New York Public Officers Law, section 108.1.
The Commission duly deliberated and considered this matter and determined upon a 6-0 vote to sustain the hearing officer's report and recommendations. Next case, please.
State Steward Aaron Higgins suspended jockey Luis Saez for 7 race days for interference while riding the horse Anne Dupree in the 7th race at Belmont Park on June 28, 2019, in violation of Commission Rules 4035.2 and 4022.12. Mr. Saez requested a hearing, which was conducted on August 29, 2019. The hearing officer submitted a report dated October 10th, recommending that the finding of violations and the penalty be upheld. The Commission considered this matter at a meeting conducted pursuant to the judicial or quasi-judicial proceedings exemption of New York Public Officers Law, section 108.1.
The Commission duly deliberated and considered this matter and determined upon a 6-0 vote to sustain the hearing officer's report and recommendations. We've got old business and new business. Any old business? Hearing none. Any new business? Hearing none. And that's the issues for today. We have to talk to Kristen about our next scheduled meeting. But before we adjourn for today, and the agenda for a formal agenda is completed, but it seems that, I guess this is the 3rd month in a row, we've had a death in the Gaming Commission family. And the most recent death is a gentleman by the name of Donald Foley, who is better known as Red, who passed away recently. Red worked for the Commission since 2002, most recently serving as recording judge at Vernon Downs. Before coming to the Commission, Red worked for over 40 years in the printing industry, first at the Clinton Courier and later at the Utica Observer-Dispatch. A veteran of the U.S. Army Armored Cavalry, Red was quite active in the community, serving in various capacities with the Clinton Youth Hockey and Salvation Army Clinton Volunteer Services Unit, the Kiwanis, the Clinton and Clark Mills Historical Societies, and the Helmuth, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, Engels American Legion Post. We offer our most sincere condolences to Red's wife, Annette, and their children, Anna, Donna, William, and Mark. And it seems that every month we've had somebody who is passed away. Hopefully, when we have our next meeting, that will not be the case. And if there's any way that we can be helpful to the family, if someone could reach out and let us know, I'd like to hear that, if that's possible. Our next meeting would be November 25th, which is, what's that, Thanksgiving week? So we need to work with Kristen on scheduling what is the best day to work out a November meeting, if that's needed, or maybe we can collapse November and December together since it's holiday season. But if she can work us through that, that would be great. Hearing no other matters, can I have a vote to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.